What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, John Caspian, and guess what? Today is Valentine's Day, which can only mean it's time to paint some blood effects. Man. So, we have two ways that we can do it. The easy way and the more customizable way, depending on your tastes. So to start off with, we can do a very simple blood for the blood god, which is effectively a diluted red that also has some gloss inside it. Or if you're a GW Citadel person, Ard coat. So I'll show you what that looks like inside the pot. Bam. There we go. So it looks fairly opaque while it's on inside the pot there. And then once you slather it on, it can either be a little bit clear. So I'm going to show this guy as an example. A little bit of a sheen. If you put it on thicker, it's going to dry thicker. Otherwise, it's nice and glossy and a little bit see-through. You can also put it on top of clear effects such as this one. You can see there. Bam. That looks pretty nice, I'd say. Yeah. That pot has that blood for the blood god effect in it. You can also put it on top of an entire miniature. Good old Executioner, I think, is what this guy is. Lord Executioner. And he is literally slathered in that good old blood for the blood god. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a knife effect onto that knife for the pink Genestealer Cultist. If you have not seen that video, highly recommend it. It's awesome. If you have seen the video, share it. Thanks. Let's start off with the Genestealer Cultist with a knife. We're going to get the other models out of the way so we can concentrate on just the one model. Oh yeah, this guy. I custom made this Yeti to be holding the prisoner, so he's about to eat him. Super fun. And then this guy, we're going to do the teeth on him next. So let's get him out of the way and focus on the good old Genestealer Cultist. So, the easy way, blood for the blood god. Now, you can apply this in a couple of different ways. The number one way that you can apply it is to simply take a brush and then throw it on and draw it on. So we're going to do that first. See how it turns out. Right there. Yeah, there we go. We can also put any of the extra on a wonderful paper towel. And draw a little bit off. And then go into the detail there. Now, whenever you're painting, think about how the blood would be on the person if it were a real-life person, I suppose. So the blade would be pretty covered in it since it cuts across. And you might not have much on the top part, but certainly it'd be dripping off the blade, so a little thicker there on the blade. Yeah, so already, that looks pretty darn good. I like it a lot. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom in for you, so you can see even closer the effect. Ooh! Zooming is fun. Nice, there we go. So you can see there the nice blood effect. Scoot him a little bit. There we go. Perfect. So there you can see through the blade, and that's going to be important because if it's completely opaque, it might not look as realistic. So it's nice to have that on there, just like that. And then turn it around, go on top here, maybe a little bit, just because you want to still tell that there's a little blood effect here, even if there's not as much, but just a little bit. And then finally, underneath, we're going to have to get in there. Just like that, onto the blade. And then the thicker parts lead into the thinner parts. Bam. Now you can speckle or stipple just a little bits of blood around so that it can look like it's spattered. And then if you really want to, you can have some of the blood up on the other parts of the handle and on the underneath of the glove here. Let's show that off. There we go. And bam, maybe even a little bit there. There we go. So just a little bit of blood on the underneath part. Bam. Now that is a nice, easy effect. Super fun. Now, if you want to do a customized option, there's a couple of reasons you might want to do it. Number one is Blood for the Blood God has a very consistent consistency. simply because it is already pre-made in the pot. However, if you want to do your own blood effects, you have to use your favorite type of blood. Fresher blood is brighter, so that is a super fresh, right out of the oven. That would be a little bit dried, and then this one would be pretty much what you would see that's on here or another similar surface where it's starting to dry out a little bit. So we're going to use this one and maybe a little bit of the top color. We're going to start off with the lower color. That could be any color you can think of. And I'm going to use a wet palette for this in order to get this just the way I want it. So I'm going to see if I can get the wet palette over here on the right so you can see this. So I'm going to put it there on. Now, there's a couple of different things about the paint. First of all, it starts off opaque, and you have to thin that down however you want. You can use some water. I like to use thinner medium. That is Vallejo, so you can grab that. It is acrylic resin, which basically just means it'll try to keep the consistency, but take down the overall opaqueness of it. So I'm going to put a whole bunch on there, like 2 for 1, to make it really thin, and we're going to mix that one up. Bam. And as we mix it up, it might lighten it up a little bit, and that is a-okay. Because what's going to happen is we're going to go over the whole thing with a gloss varnish afterwards. And that's going to really help it out. The other thing you want to put in, Ard Coat. Now with Ard Coat, we can... Let me scoot him over a little bit more. Perfect. Now you can see that wonderful... right there. With Ard Coat, that is basically going to add our gloss and our sheen. So for this, I'm going to get a larger brush because I want to get more of this paint on here. And then we're going to get that right in. Now, how much we mix could depend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to the side. Get that over next to it. Bam! Nice. Good old Ard Coat. And then I'm going to grab some from my red and mix it in. Now, the tough part about this is since the consistency is going to be different depending on your mixture combinations, you want to mix more rather than less, and once you find it correct, go for it. You can always add more sheen, so that is fine, but it's nice to be able to put that in there with the gloss varnish or the Ard Coat, just because that's a little bit easier to do. So, now, let's see if I can get this dude. Bam. Perfect. You see his beautiful, beautiful teeth. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Hi, big guy. What we're going to do is we're going to put it, starting at the bottom, where it drips off from the teeth. We're going to put it there, and then we're going to have it dripping from the bottom. So, work our way up. And get more of it on there. Perfect. Now look how it's still see-through. And then as I add more, I might add in a little bit here from the non-glossed part. You can actually put it on as a glaze as well, which is kind of what we're doing here. There we go. I'm going to put it in between the teeth and on the front. Perfect. Look at that. That's lovely. You gotta love a lovely blood effect. It's hard to beat that. Now the thickest part has to be on the actual teeth. So we're going to really wetten up the brush itself and get it on the front. So the players who are watching it will be fully intimidated. You want an intimidated player when you're playing against them. Put that in the bloody gums. Yum. Everyone loves a bloody gum. And on the inside as well. Let's see if I can get this over here. Perfect. Now that's starting to look pretty darn good. I like a fresh blood effect. It's super nice. Aw, yeah. So then from here, you can either go even darker by adding in some known oil. So I use a known oil gloss, and that's going to keep the sheen while I put it on there. So what I have to do, since this is a glaze, that I have to wait for a little bit before it goes on there. But that's the overall technique. I want to show you a little bit of putting scars onto the head and how recesses work real quick. But overall, that is a really nice little effect that looks quite gross, and I like it. Lovely. Especially if you're playing corn. But these guys work just as well. So this guy is the Butcher. He's actually a model from the Mornfang pack, but I use him as the Butcher. Now for here, you have to decide like how fresh is this wound. For instance, did he just get the wound? If it's an older wound, you have to go a little heavier on the Nuln Oil, and that's what I'll show you here. So again, we have the Nuln Oil there with the gloss coat, and that gloss coat is going to go into that recess, and we have to look at it as we put it on and make sure that we don't go too deep into here, because if we go in there and cover up the red completely, look what happens. You see it turns black? Well, that kind of sucks. We don't want that too much. So before that even dries out, I'm going to go back in with a clean brush and pull it out. And draw out the varnish or the Nuln Oil gloss. Just a little bit, but not too much. And then I can determine how much of it I want to stay in there. So that's just a slightly bit darker. And every time you darken up the red, obviously, that just makes it a little bit more non-fresh. So an old wound, maybe. Now, a secondary thing you can do is add a little bit of rawness on the skin. So right here we have fresh skin. So if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of pink to it, or a very bright red. And that little bit of pink or brown or any sort of skin tone can really help show off how nasty that cut was. So then here, we would just very gently, which I'm not being gentle right now, but we would very gently go across the sides. And we could always varnish on top of that or do a coat on top of that. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful effect. And that simply makes it look like it is a very nasty wound. And there you have it, y'all. So let's look back over here at our big beast. So he's got some blood effects. Scoot him up. Scoot this brother out of the way. Nice blood effects on the teeth. Yes, you never want to fully coat something unless it is the Lord Executioner here, where the whole body is bloody. You have to make sure you show off underlying layers. And remember, blood is a liquid, and so it's going to pool inside the areas, so it's very useful if you want to make it a glaze, like I've done here with a thinner medium. Glaze it inside the spots where you want it to hang down, and then have a brighter coat if you want to on top, like there. And I'm going way too harsh on that. I would only put normally like one layer on top of that. But if you really wanted to, you could put a very harsh top layer to show off the fresh blood that is on the top that's caked on. So that's a possibility as well. And that's it, y'all. That is how you paint your blood effects. So no matter what, make sure that it is nice and thin if you want it to recess. Darker inside the recesses, especially because it gives that shaded look. And then you can always use Blood for the Blood God, which will give you a consistent look. Very dried, very nasty. You see the gloss there? Perfect. Go over everything with Nuln Oil gloss, and then if you want to, finish up with a straight either Ard coat or similar gloss varnish. And that is your video. Thanks for watching, y'all. Make sure to join us tomorrow morning, Friday. What is that? The 15th, not 20th. Wow, I'm thinking a week ahead. We have Nick Nanavati, who's coming in, and it's going to be awesome. He's going to talk to us about the meta and all kinds of things going on with the tournament scene. So thanks, y'all, for watching. And until next time, I'm John Caspian for Gigabytes TV.